History and Miracles of St. Patrick. The story of St. Patrick, myths, miracles, and transformation. The story of St. Patrick, a man surrounded by myths and miracles, is one of the most fascinating and powerful that the Christian tradition has left in the collective memory of the West. However, few truly know who this man was and how, despite obstacles, he forever changed the course of Ireland's history. Beyond the shamrocks and green celebrations, St. Patrick is a symbol of redemption, resilience, and transformative power. For many, St. Patrick is almost a legendary figure, a man associated with the miraculous and the improbable. However, his real life was marked by hardships, losses, and an unyielding struggle to overcome the circumstances that life imposed upon him. This is the beginning of the story of Maelyn Succat, the man who would later become St. Patrick. Imagine being a young 16-year-old, captured by Irish pirates and taken from your home in Britain to be sold as a slave in foreign lands. This was the fate of young Patrick, whose first encounter with Ireland was not as a missionary, but as a hopeless slave. Trapped in a harsh landscape, Patrick was assigned to shepherd sheep. For 6 long years, his days were endless and lonely, but this time also brought him closer to God. At the top of the Irish hills, surrounded by nature, his faith grew. As he himself recounted, he had visions and heard the divine voice giving him strength. This spiritual connection helped him escape. One night, a voice in a dream told him that a ship was waiting to take him home. In an act of courage and faith, Patrick fled captivity and walked hundreds of miles until he found the ship that would take him back to Britain. It might seem that St. Patrick's story ends here, but in fact, it was just beginning. After returning to his family, Patrick had another vision that would change the course of his life. He heard the voices of the Irish calling him back, asking him to bring them the light of the Christian faith. It was then that he decided to become a priest and return to Ireland, not as a slave, but as a missionary. Patrick returned to Ireland armed not only with the determination to spread Christianity but with a very particular strategy. He knew that the key to reaching the people was to win over their tribal leaders, and so he did. He visited the chiefs of the various tribes one by one, explaining his message of hope and love. But the path was not without its difficulties. Many of these leaders saw him as a threat and tried to stop him, but Patrick's charisma and conviction were unshakable. In time, he managed to convert many Irish, including some of the most powerful figures of the time. One of the most well-known anecdotes about St. Patrick is his use of the shamrock to explain the Trinity. Though it may seem like a simple teaching tool, this story has a fascinating backdrop. The Irish already revered nature and had a deep respect for the symbolic elements of the land. Patrick, by presenting the Trinity using the shamrock, was connecting his Christian message with something the Irish already held sacred. He showed them how 3 leaves could be part of the same plant, just as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are 3 aspects of the same God. This act of cultural wisdom and respect for existing beliefs made his message more accessible and understandable to those who listened. Another legendary tale about St. Patrick is his supposed expulsion of the snakes from Ireland. Although science tells us that there were likely never any snakes in Ireland due to its climate, the story is a powerful symbol of Patrick's mission to drive out paganism and bring the light of Christian faith. The snakes, often associated with evil, represent in this context the ancient beliefs Patrick sought to replace with Christianity. This legend, even if not literal, captures the essence of Patrick's work, to rid Ireland of what he considered spiritual darkness. But perhaps what resonates most in the story of St. Patrick is his humanity and vulnerability. Despite being considered a saint, Patrick never described himself as perfect. In his confessions, he expressed doubts and fears. He spoke of how, on more than one occasion, he felt unworthy of the task before him. This humility, this acknowledgement of his own limitations, is something that connects him with each of us. St. Patrick wasn't a superhero, he was a man who chose to face his fears and move forward despite them. And it is precisely this humanity that makes him such a fascinating and universal figure. One of the most intriguing moments in the life of St. Patrick occurred when, after years of preaching and converting the Irish, he decided to confront King Laegaire, the most powerful ruler in Ireland. Legend says that Patrick lit a fire during the Druidic festival of Beltane, an act that was forbidden, as only the king could light the ceremonial fire. This act of defiance symbolized the arrival of a new light in Ireland. The Druids tried to extinguish Patrick's fire, but they couldn't, and the king, impressed by his courage and the strength of his faith, allowed him to continue his mission. This event marked a turning point in the Christianization of Ireland, demonstrating that Patrick's faith was inextinguishable. The Feast of St. Patrick, which we now know as a day of parades, green beer, and celebrations, has a much deeper origin. March 17th marks the date of his death, and for centuries it was a solemn day when the Irish honored the man who had brought them the Christian faith. It wasn't until the 20th century that it became a more joyful and colorful celebration, especially driven by the Irish community in the United States, which sought a way to connect with their roots. However, behind all the modern fanfare, the essence of St. Patrick's Day remains the story of a man who dared to defy the odds and changed an entire country. St. Patrick is a reminder that even in the darkest and most desperate situations, there is hope. It's the story of how a young slave became the spiritual leader of a nation, how he used wisdom and empathy to connect with people on a deep level. His life teaches us that true change doesn't come from imposition but from understanding and respecting others. It is a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity and find purpose, even in the most difficult circumstances. St. Patrick not only transformed the spiritual life of the Irish but also left a cultural impact that endures to this day. During his years as a missionary, Patrick founded churches, monasteries, and communities that became the heart of Irish Christianity. These places were not just centers of faith but also of education and culture, where manuscripts were copied, and knowledge was preserved in times when much of Europe was plunged into chaos. Irish monasteries became beacons of learning and culture, and this was possible thanks to the seed Patrick planted. Patrick was also a pioneer in challenging some of the social norms of his time. In a society divided by tribes and clans, he promoted the idea of a community united under one God. At a time when women had very limited roles, Patrick recognized their value and worked alongside them. There are accounts of how he convinced noble women to join religious life, allowing them to choose a path different from the one society imposed on them. These women played a crucial role in the spread of Christianity in Ireland, leading communities and dedicating their lives to teaching and helping others. Patrick's vision of a society based on spiritual equality and respect was ahead of its time and remains relevant today. Another important aspect of St. Patrick's story is how he managed to fuse elements of Christianity with local Irish traditions and customs. Instead of imposing a new religion and rejecting what existed, Patrick sought common ground. The Irish Celts had a deep respect for nature and the cycles of life, and Patrick used these elements to explain Christian concepts in a way that was understandable and appealing to them. This ability to adapt and respect local beliefs was key to the success of his mission. Through this strategy, he ensured that Christianity was not seen as something foreign but as a natural extension of the beliefs already present in Irish culture. Among the many stories and legends of St. Patrick, one lesser-known but equally fascinating tale is his confrontation with the Druid Lochru. According to legend, Lochru, a powerful Druid who fiercely opposed Patrick's mission, tried to challenge and humiliate him publicly. During a gathering in front of the king and other leaders, Lochru displayed his magical powers to demonstrate the superiority of his beliefs. Patrick, however, remained calm and prayed silently. Suddenly, it is said, an invisible force struck down the Druid, who fell from a great height and died instantly. While this story is clearly a legend, it reflects the deep conviction of Patrick's followers in the power of their faith against pagan forces. It's a story of spiritual confrontation, where Patrick's faith and bravery prevail against established beliefs. In addition to his achievements as a spiritual leader, St. Patrick is also known for his humility and capacity for forgiveness. In his writings, particularly in his Confessio, Patrick speaks openly about his inner struggles, his fears, and moments of doubt. In a particularly moving passage, he recounts how, despite being betrayed by people close to him, he chose to forgive and continue with his mission. This act of forgiveness not only shows his spiritual greatness but also his deep humanity. Unlike other leaders who sought revenge or justice, Patrick chose the path of love and forgiveness, an example that continues to inspire many today. The story of St. Patrick is also full of miraculous moments that, while difficult to verify historically, have contributed to his reputation as a holy man. It is said that on one occasion, during a journey through Ireland, Patrick and his companions found themselves surrounded by a hostile group who wanted to attack them. Patrick prayed fervently, and suddenly he and his followers became invisible to their enemies, who couldn't find them and left. These miraculous accounts not only show the power of faith, according to tradition, but also how the figure of St. Patrick became a symbol of protection and hope for the Irish people. Another fascinating element of St. Patrick's story is his connection with nature. Though he is remembered primarily as a missionary and spiritual leader, he is also known for his respect and appreciation for the natural world. Patrick saw in divine creation a manifestation of God's love, and he used nature as a tool to teach and connect with people. It's no coincidence that the shamrock, a natural element, became the symbol of St. Patrick in Ireland. His connection to the land and his use of natural elements to explain spiritual concepts show a deep wisdom and an ability to understand the needs and beliefs of those to whom he preached. St. Patrick's influence didn't end with his time. After his death, his legacy continued to grow, and Irish monks, inspired by his example, brought Christianity to other parts of Europe. In the centuries that followed, Irish monasteries became centers of learning and culture, and Irish monks played a key role in preserving knowledge during Europe's Dark Ages. These monks, known as Pilgrims for Christ, traveled across the continent, establishing monasteries and spreading the Christian message. All of this was made possible by the seed planted by St. Patrick, whose impact transcended the borders of Ireland and left a lasting mark on European history. In a world where history is often forgotten, and details get lost in time, the story of St. Patrick remains alive not just because of the myths surrounding him, but because of the human and spiritual essence it conveys. It is a story of courage, faith, and above all, love for a people he initially knew only as his captors. Patrick chose to return to the land where he had been a slave, not for revenge, but to bring a message of love and hope. And that, perhaps, is the most powerful lesson he leaves us, the power of forgiveness and transformation. This story of St. Patrick, filled with sacrifices, miracles, and symbolism, resonates with anyone who has faced an apparently insurmountable challenge. It invites us to reflect on our own lives, on our ability to transform our pain into something meaningful, and on how, even in the darkest moments, we can find a light to guide us. Just as St. Patrick found his strength on the lonely hills of Ireland, we all have within us the ability to find meaning and purpose, no matter how difficult the path. St. Patrick teaches us that true transformation comes from within, from the ability to see beyond our own limitations and dare to challenge the status quo. He shows us that, even when all seems lost, there is always a reason to keep going, and that our actions, no matter how small they may seem, can have a lasting impact on the lives of others. His story is a testament to the power of faith, resilience, and love, and it continues to inspire millions of people around the world, reminding us that we are all capable of achieving great things, even in the most adverse circumstances.